Alright, so here we are in front of the elephants.
It was a pretty sunset.
I am joined, as always, by my good friend Connor.
Hi guys, good to be back as always.
It's good for both of us to be back. It's been a while since we did one of these. I believe it was June when we talked about The Flash and Man of Steel. Mm-hmm. Fine movies in some ways.
They're both movies.
They indeed they are. And that was kind of the end of season 7. And I think I was personally kind of unsure as to what anything past season 7 would look like for the show, as far as what would we do, what would the model be, because I don't, at the end of the day, with busy adult lives, the season structure isn't as sustainable. You know I can't do a weekly episode.
We're not in the same place every Monday morning anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. No. So it behooves me to come up with a solution where we can still have all film discussion. And I thought a good way to kick off potentially a new era of the show would be with a mailbag episode, a kind of toss-up conversational episode where we get questions from our listeners that we respond from our big, hefty mailbag that I have finally picked up from our P.O. box at the post office. They were not happy once again with us, Connor. You should have been there. It was...
Well, because our last mailbag was like 3 years ago, correct?
Yep. Yeah, it was.
So they piled up.
It did. And as always, we only ever answer like maybe 8 to 10 of these an episode. So it's tough. What can I say?
It's quite the pile up.
Yeah, they were giving me the stink eye, the hauled stink eye this morning, being like, you better bring all these with you. Thank you, everyone who wrote in to ask. We are very excited to answer some of these, absolutely. And we'll kind of start off with probably the most prevalent, considering the time of year. It is October. Well, this is Editor Dan. It's not October anymore. It's December, because this is what happens when you're a busy adult and you can't get to the episode on time. But continuing on, it is the spooky season, and I have a letter right here from Lauren M., who asks, scary movie Mount Rushmore.
Ooh, okay. So the bad thing is, Dan, I'm not in Vermont. I'm back in Indiana. I'm not near the mailbox. And as a result, I have not opened or pre-read any of these letters. Which you have to check for anthrax every time, so you pre-open them.
I do. I'm the one taking the risk. Putting my life and limb on the line.
So, horror movie Mount Rushmore.
This is a tough one. This is a personal tough one for me because I feel like I have a pretty clear top 3. Mm-hmm. But that 4th spot is really hard to differentiate from. I feel like a dozen movies could fit in that 4th spot. So it's just kind of hard to do. To start off, this is not going to be a surprise to anyone. My first on Mount Rushmore is obviously Suspiria 2018. Gotta give it to Suspiria. A really exciting and cool contemporary horror film from Luca Guadagnino, a great remake of the 77 classic. So, yeah, that would be my Roosevelt, actually.
Well, you don't specify which president it is. I just mean who from the movie is the face.
Oh. Well, Suspiria's first.
Okay.
Next up, first Best Picture winner at the Andes. Ever, The Lighthouse. That's one that I have that beautiful A24 Blu-ray release on my shelf.
Weird bit of trivia, Dan. We've only seen one Andy Best Picture winner together, which I think is fascinating.
Oh, because Kelly Gang and...
Spencer.
And Spencer.
And then Fablemans, we have not seen together.
We didn't see any of them together. Wow.
We've only seen the first one. We didn't even watch those for like consideration screenings.
Yeah, no. Here's the thing. We've seen plenty of nominees together.
Yes, we have, yeah.
And then I would go with The Shining, 1980, Stanley Kubrick. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. I saw it for the first time a week before I saw Lighthouse for the first time, I think, actually. It was that same month. It was October 2019. And then my fourth one, it's hard to pick, but I'm going to go with a recent love. A new watch for me that has been in my brain for weeks now. And it's a not good thing when this gets in your brain because your brain might explode. I'm talking about Scanners, the David Cronenberg classic. Probably his first big breakout into American and international audiences, the classic Canadian horror director. Michael Ironside with an amazing performance as a Revok. Check it out. It is right now on my Mount Rushmore. But this could easily have gone to Black Phone from last year. Is so many.
So who are the heads?
Who are the heads?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Who's the head from Suspiria?
I have to. That's what you meant. Is who do I pick to be the head to pick? I'm just imagining the Blu-ray covers and the DVD of the movie posters etched into the mountain. Okay, faces. That's easy. Well, Suspiria is gonna be Dakota Johnson. Or you could do Tilda Swinton, but I would go Dakota Johnson. Lighthouse is Robert Pattinson. Shining, I would actually do Danny Torrance. I would do the kid. I would not do Jack Nicholson.
You do him on the big wheel, like going like this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then Scanners, Michael Ironside as Revok.
You don't have the freeze of the exploded head.
Oh my!
You don't have like an extremely detailed sculpture.
Head guy. I saw photos of how they did that. That was
bonkers.
Dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But I would be tempted to do Exploding Head, but I would do Michael Ironside with the weird vein shit in his going up when he's like going up against his. I'm not going to reveal third act things. Watch it, but yeah.
I've never seen it. I need to.
Oh, you're gonna like
Cronenberg's still pretty much a huge blind spot for me.
He was, but I've ever since Crimes of the Future, the new one, I've gone back and been trying to watch more of his, and it's usually a treat.
Existence is on Criterion Channel right now, and I want to get around to that one very soon.
I was so close to watching that, but then I clicked on Scanners instead that night. So, yeah, I want to get around to that too. Okay, there you go. Here we go. What's yours?
So, Dan, our Mount Rushmores start very similarly.
Okay.
Because I'm going to have Suspiria up there as well. And
nice.
Since you have Dakota Johnson, I will take Tilda Swinton. I'll put old man Tilda Swinton up there.
Little German psychologist.
German man,
yeah.
And then after that, I'm kind of torn between the two Eggers. At least the two first Eggers, the two prime Eggers.
The two more horror-inspired Eggers.
Yeah. I wouldn't classify The Northman as horror whatsoever. I think that's just regular like drama.
Viking epic drama.
This is a Viking epic, yeah. For the sake of difference, I will, and because I rewatched it more recently, I'll put The Witch, or The V-Bitch, as it's called. And I'll put, the first instinct is obviously to put Black Phillip up there for the head.
Yeah,
but
that'd be good.
Yeah, I'll put Thomason. I'll break convention.
Thomason!
I'll put Thomason.
Yeah, Thomason. Not Thomason McKenzie.
No.
Anya Taylor-Joy's character.
So bonkers,
Thomason.
man. The guy who plays the dad.
Yeah.
Just the most deep.
Is that Ralph Ineson?
Yeah, Ralph Ineson, yeah.
Yeah, love him.
Yeah. And then the third head, I'm actually going to put Ghostface because I'm putting Scream. I know you don't like it, Dan, but it is a landmark horror picture from one of the great horror auteurs, Mr. Wes Craven. So I think it deserves at least one stone head on a mountain, I would say, from one of us. Okay, whatever. Dan's even the same guy, and it's not warranted.
Okay.
I would love Dan to jokingly say Skinamarink for my fourth, just to hurt your feelings, but no, it's not.
Here's the
Skinamarink.
thing. It's not like I dislike Skinamarink. I respect it as an experience that I don't resonate with, basically, whatsoever. There are some amazing moments in Skinamarink, and I think it is, I've talked a bit about this with you before, is the fact that it is so unyielding in its vision. It's quite a bold film, and I'm never going to truly hate a bold film because it's shooting for the fences, and I always love it when a film does that because it's bringing me to a new cinematic place. But overall, like, it does kind of play with that whole like YouTube, deep web, backrooms idea of the world, and it's even more horrifying when it's a child. But there's just something so deeply inaccessible and boring. I hate to say it.
Boring?
It shouldn't be, but boring about it. Yes.
Dan, I saw Skinamarink twice in the theater. Honestly, I was not bored either time.
Dude.
Here's the
I
thing.
don't
For those
blame
who
you.
still do follow me on the Letterboxd, Cranberry18, CRAND Berry18. I'm out of practice doing that. Skinamarink's a 5-star motion picture for me. I do love a Skinamarink.
I do.
But anyway, speaking of Skinamarink, this is the few times I'll talk about a new release motion picture because I'm actively supporting the strike. So if there's questions where Dan gives me, I say I plead the fifth, or I'm being very careful with my words.
Yes.
Because I want to support, at this time, the SAG strike, which is still going on.
And obviously, the strike has ended. This is editor Dan again. This is December Dan. And I know that we're going to bring up the strike a lot for the rest of this episode. We're going to talk about it because it's a very important thing that was happening at the time. It's still happening because they need to ratify the contract they had with the studios. But expect us talking about the strike that at that time has not ended. Okay, continuing on. Yes.
Anyway, Skinamarink came out in January, so it's not a problem. But yeah, good
there
movie.
you go. It was helpful that I told the postal worker that don't give me any of the envelopes post-dated.
Anything addressed after May 15th, the Connor can't read it. But I think we're okay to talk about stuff because the strike technically for the Writers Guild is over.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll play in the air of caution. But anyway, my fourth spot, I was kind of between a couple motion pictures. I think just because how much it does affect me, I'm going to go Hereditary.
Yeah.
That movie, I've seen it twice now. Both times it has given me extreme panic attacks. And the second time I had to talk to my therapist about it because she could tell I was visibly shaken. So works. Good movie.
Yeah, it's a hell of a movie. Would you say that's Astor's best?
Yes, hands down. Yeah.
I agree. I think it's a close call with Midsommar. And Beau is Afraid has its place, but it's not as good as the first two. And I would give it to Hereditary as well.
This is not me promoting a new release. Say Beau is Afraid did not work for me whatsoever.
Yeah, no. It's
did not work for me.
Again, what a swing. What a swing of a movie, you know?
He did something.
He did. He did something for 3 hours.
Anyway, I like Midsommar enough. I have the really nice A24 4K edition of it.
Yeah.
Which I would reach, but it's literally just out of my reach here. I mean, the force bomb to go to Hereditary, and you delinquents who are going to think what I'm going to say for this sculpture is not going to be what it's going to be. I'm just going to make it the screaming, crying Tony Collette at the dinner table.
Oh, wow. You're going to give it to Tony. I would have given it to Broken Nose Boy.
See, Broken Nose Boy, or people would go Decapitated Charlie, I think is what people would
No,
like.
you can't go That's terrible.
Well, that's what people would... Dan, I assure you, when I said Hereditary, the 0 people watching this did think I was going to say that for the statue.
Good point. Yeah. Well, okay, that's a pretty solid Mount Rushmore from both of us.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate
might
it.
add a little graphic up there for that
Will
one.
you really? That'd be fun.
Let's get another envelope out here. This one is from Julia. All their films from the past decade, so let's say the 2010s, that offer examples of a female gaze. If so, how does the female gaze manifest? Can this only be effectively achieved by a female director?
Interesting. You chose, I mean, Julia, I give you credit. I think she forgot who this was getting sent to. I guess I'll take this one first. Yeah. The two that immediately come to mind are films that maybe I don't recognize it because I wish I could distance myself from the male gaze as much as I could making my work, and that's why when I do things probably feature a highly female cast and there is a sexual situation involved, like Moments, I made sure to hire a female cinematographer. And I think because literally then I'm using a female's eye to shoot the action, and she is the front line of any kind of stuff like that. I'm able to work through her. So the bad instincts that come with being a guy sometimes making a movie as much as I try to avoid them, will be hopefully even further lessened by having a collaborator that is female that I trust implicitly. But anyway, the two that come to mind immediately are Portrait of a Lady on Fire, the Celine, how do you say her last name? Sciamma film?
Haven't seen it.
You haven't seen Portrait of a Lady on Fire?
No, that was sadly one of the ones I missed. It actually came to the Vermont International Film Festival, and I missed it that year.
Maybe when you come for an event that maybe will happen this year, we can watch that movie, because I have the Criterion. Oh, this is a rough one.
This is a rough one?
This is a rough one.
Well, I would say that, I mean, it's a pretty easy... The first half of the question, I think, is easier to answer. All their films from the past decade that offer examples of the female gaze. Yes, I would say they're all. There's a lot of good ones, I would say. Personally, movies that come to mind, an easy one for us, Best Picture winner Spencer. A fantastic example of it.
I guess it's true, yeah.
But over the past couple years, I think we've actually gotten quite a few powerful films. Invisible Man, Promising Young Woman, Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always. Which, have you seen that one?
You have much more intelligent answers than I do, Dan. You're pulling all the stops.
Hey, now. It's pretty easy to also talk about some of the more, like, actual zeitgeist films that we've had, like any of Greta Gerwig's works.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's, and also,
I would
like,
say
Booksmart.
Barbie definitely is the female gaze entirely.
It is, completely. Not to harp on it more, Suspiria. 2018 Suspiria with an entire female cast. I think Luca Guadagnino uses the female gaze in a very special way in that sense by having all the female characters portray every character.
Or at the very least, like, not even like female gaze, but just there is no hint of sexualization in that movie whatsoever. No. Like, none of those women's bodies are remotely sexualized in any way, shape, or form, despite even some scenes like them being, air quotes, like scantily clad, like the final dance scene, where they're literally just wearing like red rope. There's nothing overtly sexual or lingering on their form whatsoever. Yeah. There's even nudity in that movie, and it's not even lingered on in any way, any shape or form.
Because it's so focused on the atmosphere and the horror that it's trying to achieve, that it does it so well. It's not giving you any, like, offshoot anything to, like, avoid, like, divert your attention from that. And I think that's why it's such a compelling watch for me. But yeah, I would say those are a few of the films that just off the top of my head. There's plenty of others. Can this be only effectively achieved by a female director? No. I think absolutely a male director can do it. It's just usually, I think it helps when you have just a multi-gendered crew. You know, a film, it takes an army, you know? Yeah. And, like, it's not just a director who makes a film. They make decisions, but they have a group of people behind them that are able to, and usually it's a pretty great diverse group of people behind them, behind the scenes. Shout out to all the people who you never think about who make movies, who help create that. So I think in the sense that film is such a collective media, absolutely it can be achieved outside of just a female director. Though I'd say there's something special about the female-directed films that do focus on female gaze because it feels a bit more direct at times. But yeah, good question, Julia.
Very good question, Julia.
I'll see you at dinner in a couple days.
Sorry, my answer was not nearly as intellectual as your brother's.
Next up, we have a letter from Dylan. You may remember Dylan writing in.
Yeah, drug addict Dylan.
Yes, and illicit movie snack Dylan.
I shouldn't say drug addict Dylan. I don't know this man. I apologize.
No. But basically, Dylan writes, ooh, this is interesting. What song are you choosing to adapt into a movie?
I actually have an answer for this, Dan.
There you go.
I do.
Shoot, what is it?
TM, please don't steal this if I ever do eventually write this movie. Yeah. Do you know the Fun song The Gambler? Or it's the band's called Fun. The song is called The Gambler.
I don't know. I know the band, not the song.
Okay. An ex-girlfriend of mine, 3 relationships ago, my first serious relationship, she very much liked the band Fun. And there was a song called The Gambler, which is the lead singer Nat's song about his parents and their romance through their lives until eventually his mother had a health scare and almost passed away. And I want to adapt that song into this, like, huge 2.5 hour long, like, epic where it's 4 interweaving stories of the parents and their son and their experiences with love and loss. And yeah, that's my answer.
Okay. That actually is kind of good. Would you call it The Gambler?
It's called The Gambler, yeah.
It's called The Gambler, yeah. That's a great answer. All right.
Thank you.
For me, I would try and I would take a more literal approach with it. I think I would actually try and make a film that I would kind of adapt really from like the atmosphere and the lore, like Stairway to Heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Stairway to Heaven as a movie, whether it be a short film or a full-length feature, I think offers so much story building and so much interesting description in the song that, and like the song itself, the way it builds feels like almost like an epic adventure, like a movie. Like it really feels like it has that movie arc to it because it's such a cinematic listen, and it's never been overplayed for me, so I'm not sick of it. So I would legitimately consider Stairway to Heaven and trying to pull a story out of that, just with like the characters that all being sung about and yada yada. And the fact that it's 8 minutes kind of helps to gives you a lot to work with, I feel like.
Does the song feature into the movie at all? Like, is there like a Stairway to Heaven needle drop in the movie, or is it like the opening credits? Or
I think it would be perhaps like third act climax, or it would be like just closing credits or something, you know, because there would be something about the fact is you don't want to play the song all the way through at any point, because then you get the whole story sort of. But I think it would maybe it could have a place in the movie, but it certainly wouldn't need to be in the movie, you know.
Good question, Dylan. Sorry I insulted
thank you,
at the
Dylan.
opening.
Yeah, Connor really raking you through the coals there with your
Sorry,
previous
Dylan.
questions.
I apologize. It was all in jest.
Yeah. Sure it was.
It was all in jest. I don't know you. You snuck a chicken into Star Wars. That's all I need to know about you.
Yep.
And your BB-8 costume.
Ooh. Here is a question from Josie. Josie writes, have you ever walked out of a movie in the theaters? And what is the worst movie you've ever watched all the way through?
Oh, Dan, I've watched so many bad movies all the way through.
Oh, me too. Because here's the thing. With us, we commit to a movie. We want to see the full product of a movie. I almost never not finish a movie unless something kept me from finishing it. Like I had something to do.
Yeah. I have never walked out of a theater because I hated the movie. Erica and I have been very close with a movie this year that I technically can name because it's not under any kind of SAG protection.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. I don't believe so. There's a movie called The Outwaters that we watched this year that Erica overtly despised and wanted to walk out of. I kind of insisted we stayed for at least the last little bit, and we managed to suffer through it, but she despised that movie. But everything else I've walked out of has been due to when I was a kid, I walked out of Tim Burton's. No, I didn't walk out of that. I'm sorry. I stepped through that. I loved chocolate when I was a kid, and I cried when they threw his candy into the fire. And my dad asked if I needed to leave, and I said no, and I stuck it out.
Oh.
Movie I did leave, though, around that same time, I think a year later, was I Am Legend.
Oh.
And I still have not finished I Am Legend, Dan, because I was so scared.
I have had... Yeah, I think the major memory I have of a movie that I've walked out of, I was hanging out with my buddy, and we went to go see Eternals. And, like, we were over 2 hours through, and... his sister texted him saying she needed the call.
Oh, yeah.
Because they live together. And he was like, I guess I have to give her the call. I'm like, dude, come on. Like, it's 35 more minutes in this movie. We need to see how it ends. And he's like, no, we should go. So we left. And it turned out she didn't even really need the call. She just wanted to drive downtown instead of walk downtown to go to the balls with her friends. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Kidding me, yeah. What's the worst movie you've watched all the way through? You have one?
No. Here's the thing. All of the worst movies I've seen, I've pretty much watched all the way through.
Yeah. I mean, I can guess what you're probably going to say.
There's a couple. Because I have for me, 12 movies that all rated half a star on Letterboxd. And I could choose any of them.
Dan, I have to ask you a question if mine counts.
Okay.
Does it count if you watched it on 1.5 times speed because you couldn't stand the movie, but you have a rule about not finishing movies?
Yes.
Then my answer is, Dan, is the 2022 film The Bubble.
The Bubble.
Judd Apatow's The Bubble.
I remember you watching that. That is...
Damn.
Oh, I heard that was so terrible.
It is one of the most atrocious things I've ever seen in my entire life.
Dang, on 1.5
I literally had to
speed.
watch it at 1.5 speed to get through it.
At what point in the movie did you switch it to 1.5 speed?
About the movie's like 2.5 hours long or some horse shit.
2.5 hours?
It's 2 hours and 7 minutes. It felt like 5.5.
Oh.
I think an hour in. I think the last half I sped through it.
You just couldn't. Yeah.
Dan,
I don't blame you.
That movie's so mean-spirited and toxic. And like I said, I think the only thing I can really nicely say about it is the fact that it allowed below-the-line workers and people I like actor-wise to have a job during the pandemic. But that movie, it's atrocious and mean-spirited and toxic. And the movie ends. Fred Armisen's in it playing the director of the fictional movie existing inside of the bubble.
Yeah.
And at the end, it has like this little like blooper thing. Oh, outtakes, funny, funny, funny. And the last little bit of the movie, as the credits are rolling, is Fred Armisen looking at the camera. And he was like, "We gave you guys a good time during a rough time. We really helped you out. We did a good thing here."
Oh, no.
I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh, God.
Like, yes, I'm glad people got work. I'm cool people being fed. Like, but what the fuck is this, like, high and mightier than thou? Like, we gave you this, you little piggies. Eat the slop. Like,
Yeah. Oh,
no.
jeez. That sounds like my Don't Look Up.
yeah, movie's bad. Another director I do like, another comedy director I think has made very good movies. The Big Short freaking rips. I'm a
Yeah,
fan of
you
Step
know
Brothers. But, like,
Don't Look Up. Screw that movie.
Man.
That movie it was the last full-length movie I saw in 2021. I hated. I had to watch like a short film just to be like, I can't end the year on this.
yeah.
All right, moving on. We got another letter here from David. David writes, what qualities separate Airplane from other satirical physical comedies such as Caddyshack and Naked Gun? Interesting.
Well, then I got to plead the fifth.
You do.
I've never seen Airplane.
Oh, you've never seen Airplane.
I've seen the Caddyshack.
You have.
Someone did indeed step on a duck,
That's true.
but I've not seen those other movies.
I mean, for me, I would say, as it is with like a Zucker and Abrams production, being Airplane and Top Secret and films of the like, I think the thing that separates them from Caddyshack and Naked Gun is that it's the sheer amount, like the sheer volume of comedy of every style, the verbal like puns and jokes and physical comedy and shock humor and all these things packed in really to every single second into the production design, the script, the performances, just faces. Like all of it is a very overwhelming and hilarious experience in Airplane. All right. Next up, we have a question from Thomas. And Thomas writes, what are the two best different genres to watch back to back as a double feature? And subsequently, what are the worst two genres to watch back to back?
Erica and I have an all-timer double feature we did forever ago of Corey Finley's Bad Education, followed up by Peter Rabbit 2.
Oh. Was not expecting that. Yeah.
It was the most unsensical thing. We wanted to watch the second movie. We were tired, and we watched Peter Rabbit 2 half asleep.
All right.
And Peter Rabbit 2 half asleep is a trip, I will say.
imagine.
That is a very good time to be mostly unconscious during. So I guess my answer is biographical drama and child's film that's starring a disliked talk show host voicing an animal.
One, I would kind of argue, let me know your thoughts on this, when it comes to best two different genres to watch back to back, is probably any genre paired with a making of doc. I know that's such a standard answer,
Yeah.
but like sometimes it is so fun to watch a film and then the making of that film. It's one of the most classic back-to-back genre watches you can do, really. Like we did it. Didn't we do it? No. We did.
For what?
We did for Twixt.
Oh, we did do it for Twixt.
We did it for Twixt, and did we do it for Werewolf by Night?
We didn't watch Werewolf by Night together. We did watch the making of it
We watched
together.
Director by Night together. Okay.
Yeah.
That was it. I'd forgotten whether we had seen those together. Okay.
Both very good making of docs, I will say.
Yeah, I'd say so.
The Disney Plus making of docs started out as really garbage propaganda for their properties, but they have gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
I will say Becoming the Panda, the Turning Red one, is very good. And I revisit that one occasionally just to watch it because it's just very well built piece of. It is still marketing. It is still propaganda. Every bit of documentary about a making of something is propaganda, especially when it's on at Disney Plus. But that's one of the better ones.
Agreed. And then, I mean, looking at some of my more memorable double features that I have had over the years. Honestly, a war epic paired with a short family comedy or just a short comedy as like a palate cleanser, I think works great. All infamous War and Peace Porco Rosso double feature senior
That was
year.
the same day?
That was the same day. We watched War and Peace, and then
We
right
watched
after
10 hours of movies that day?
yes, and we only watched 2
Sheesh.
movies, but it was like 10 hours. And
That's right, because Steve dipped out of War and Peace early.
Yes.
And then he wanted to watch something, so it wasn't just a complete wasted afternoon for him. So we watched Porco Rosso. That's crazy. That's a good one.
Yeah.
We also did a really interesting double feature when you visited me last, which we did Bones and All and Scream 5.
Yeah.
That was a fascinating double feature.
That was fascinating. Okay. Worst back-to-back.
Oddly enough, I feel like if you did... So you did The Wiz, then Come and See?
Yeah.
See, I feel like that's the most toxic one to do.
It
but
is.
I guess, like...
It ends you in a really dark place.
Yeah. I think the worst double feature would be something like... See, I feel like the worst double feature would be just because, like, the mix of medium in this way.
Yeah.
Like, something like a heavily disturbing, like a Lars von Trier or Heineke film, immediately into something like Dougal.
Oh.
You know, I feel like that. Like, I think you need like something extremely fucked up in a like narrative sense, and then a children's movie that's supposed to be comforting but is extremely unsettling.
I'm trying to think of an example of like a movie from back in the day that potentially predicts a terrible future, and then a movie about now that is that future.
And then Inconvenient Truth.
Yeah, that kind of inconvenient truth idea of like, there were movies warning us about this decades ago, and now here's literally a movie telling us here it is.
Oh, or something like Oppenheimer and then Threads.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's a good one. I mean, a good one for the worst.
Any kind of like nuclear war movie, and then followed up by like, you know, any kind of and further nuclear war movie.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Or like Waterworld, then Inconvenient Truth. That way at least having some fun in the first half.
But okay, yeah, those are all answers. Thomas, thank you for writing in. Heck yeah. Let's see here. I say, well, we got time for one more. This big deep bag of mail. Let me see what I can pull out. We'll do one more. Got the letter right here. All right, this is it's from Julia again, coming through with yet another question. All right, can you point to this is good. Can you point to a cinematic zeitgeist of the 2020s? Any predictions for the remaining decade where film will be going with filmic composition? Can you describe how people may define 2020 films 30 years from now?
I will say, you can tell your sister's an academic.
Yeah, she really is like coming through with like fucking prompts, you know?
Yes.
Like
the
I could write an
gaze
essay on
and
this.
Analysis of the zeitgeist.
Yes.
Gosh. I feel like it's a very cynical answer.
Yeah.
I apologize. I feel like the zeitgeist now is disposability. I feel like the medium, the film right now, is defined by its lack of permanence and its lack of reverence.
Yeah, it's...
Yeah.
Yeah, keep going.
Like, I've been watching a lot of Scorsese interviews.
Don't.
for-
This poor man.
Yeah, this poor fellow.
Yeah.
There's a great video essay that maybe I'll send to Dan, as we can put in the description here. There's a guy named High Top Films who is a superhero movie video essayist, and he made a video about Marty. And I was like, okay, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched it, and it's actually very nuanced and insightful, and it's coming from someone who loves superhero media and even made a Jason Todd. Do you know who Jason Todd is?
No.
Dan? Jason Todd is the second Robin who was killed by the Joker. Huge famous comic book story called Death in the Family.
Okay, yeah.
He made a Jason Todd fan film, like a feature-length Jason Todd fan film.
Whoa.
So this guy's deep in the Batman lore and like cares deeply about superhero media as a whole. Mm-hmm. But he made this essay about how, like, yeah, of course Marty's right. Like, how could he not be right? The stuff he's seeing now with superhero stuff, and despite loving it, it's not cinema. Much deeper discussion. Watch that video. I think it's very well said by the guy who runs High Top. Anyway, Netflix recently said this thing in like one of their, I believe it's one of their reports to investors. That's what I was looking for. To investors. And they said, we're not competing with movie theaters. We're competing with people's phones.
That's
That's
true.
the thing. And people are watching movies on their phone. And content, which I hate that word, content, which I'll also send a Patrick Willems video to you, Dan, you can link, about content. Film, it's not respected anymore, really,
No.
by the common man, you know? And a lot of people tell, yes, film was always a accessible and, like, air quotes, disposable medium of entertainment. You went to the movies because it was too hot outside and the theaters had air conditioning.
Yeah.
Yes. But now that film is becoming so democratized, which on one hand is a very good thing. The medium of film has always been accessible, but now it is arguably the most it's ever been. But as a result of things being so accessible, and you just throw a movie on to throw a movie on, or I heard this is good, or blank with blank, that's why there is stuff like, I joked and talked shit about it earlier, like The Gray Man, which despite me loving Ryan Gosling and him literally being my favorite actor of all time, he's just in this garbage that just has no heart, and it's just stale and gray and tired. And if you look at it, it's a vehicle to waste 2 hours. It is the most, middle of the line common denominator. Like, it's past like Happy Meals. It's becoming IV drips. You know, just like, I'm just gonna sit here and stare at the screen for 2 hours because it's something to do. And you don't feel anything afterwards. And I feel like a lot of the stuff I'm seeing now from a lot of major big studios is just heartless. And I feel that's because film is not becoming an art form anymore. It's becoming content. It is something that you just put on to have on that doesn't mean anything or doesn't further the conversation or add anything to your life. So I feel like my very depressing answer is our zeitgeist now is disposability. It's passing time. It's having something that's fun but empty.
Yeah.
So that's my answer, Dan. Isn't that beautiful, amazing, and great?
It's true. It's the truth, and sometimes the truth hurts. I will say that for someone like you and me, for like lovers, for obsessors of cinema, it's dark times.
It is.
But that also doesn't mean that there aren't lights in the cracks of the cement wall that is the cinema firmament.
Yeah. The scary thing for me is, Dan, when I think of the lights in the cracks, they're all men in their 70s and 80s.
Robert Eggers.
Robert Eggers is one of them. So is Nolan. You do have occasional people who like only shoot on film. Peele. No, well, Peele is big in IMAX, but I don't think he shot his first 2 movies on film at all.
Yeah.
Like, even freaking Nope is probably digital IMAX.
Yeah. It's tough because we all, as a film community, like struggling to keep any of it alive. in the way that it was when there was a magic to moving pictures, when there was this kind of grand moving escapism or commentary on where we are or where we've been or where we're going. And you and me both watch hundreds of movies a year. And as much as we find amazing movies that come out every year, and we find amazing movies that have come out in previous years, recent and way back in the day, there's always just like so much of contemporary film that we have to wade through, and that's difficult. And it's not to say that there is this kind of creative bankruptcy or like lack of drive in film, because they're all filmmakers out there who all fight in the good fight. But you're right, a lot of them of the old school are getting old because it's the old school, and a lot of people in the new school don't have the freedom, don't have the leverage to do what they want or to keep this form alive, to evolve it, to make it into something greater, because of the fact that it's like, all right, you're a director, you work for a studio, just make this movie. You might get Final Cut. I don't know.
Or when you do get an interesting independent voice, they're snatched up by the studio right away and then make the next Jurassic World movie.
Yep. Or, maybe some more.
Or any other big franchise. I'm not talking
movies.
Shit about J.A. Biona.
Yeah.
Oh, Narnia movies?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dan, let's not talk about that. That hurts my heart a lot. That
hurts my little brain. But yeah, so it's a difficult place to look at the cinematic zeitgeist of the 2020s, because as far as film as a community, that is the case. Yeah. Well, this has been an episode of Film Master. No, I'm kidding.
There is hope. I'm not here I'm being doom and gloom.
Yeah.
But there is hope. But it's hard to look at hope when you're being recommended AI filmmaking.
Yeah.
Which is the most infuriating, nonsensical term I've encountered in probably my entire life.
I just hope and pray, fingers crossed, this goes the way of 3D filmmaking, where it is a big thing for a few years and then it just matriculates into a kind of a thing that's sort of there, but it doesn't really affect anything or rule the industry. Because everyone back in the day...
I don't think AI is going anywhere, Dan. I hate to say it. I really don't think it's going anywhere.
No, it's not.
If people can afford to, or not afford to, if people can take an opportunity to not pay people and to have a thing you don't have to pay, do air quotes work.
Yeah.
Then they'll take it, which is why we haven't talked a lot about the strikes, but that's why the Writers Guild was striking for 5 months, roughly.
Yeah.
And what SAG is still caught up on. In addition,
honestly, for me, it's the fight of the century.
It is the fight of the century. In terms of people who actually want to have a living in this industry, this is the fight of the century.
Yeah.
Yes, the 2007 strikes happened, but those were not over nearly the same things that these were.
No.
2007 strike was because, you can buy shows on iTunes. This strike now is because, people might not have a job in 3 years.
Simpler days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Dan, I talked to my therapist about this. Yes, the writers' strike ended, which is incredible, and I'm happy that we got a great deal.
Yeah.
But I'm scared for in 3 years from now, with AI continuing to progress and studios caring less and less about the people who actually work for them and about the actual artistry of the medium they're selling. If an AI can do something cheaper, they'll take it and they'll try it and they'll push it as much as they can. Which is, I want to be a screenwriter. I want nothing more in life than to tell stories.
Yeah.
And I'm always going to tell stories. No matter what happens, even if screenwriting as a job no longer exists, I'm still going to write and I'm still going to make as big as productions as I can do myself. But it is scary to think a way for me to be successful in this field is literally like at war.
Yeah.
Like, we're at a peace treaty for now, but 3 years, when the contract terms come up again, it's going to probably be another fucking battle and another strike.
Yep.
Because I don't see people getting less greedy on the studio ends. And I don't know, it's so crazy, man. And it hurts my heart and my soul and my head right now, mostly my head.
Yeah.
To even think about this kind of stuff. And I'm sorry to end this like the longest answer to the question because it's a huge ramble.
It's a good ramble. It's a relevant ramble. And Julia, I thank you for Julia, I thank you for writing in on this question because this is like ever since we finished up that Flash and Man of Steel episode, this is what people have been talking about in the film world, and this is where we are at right now. All right, here's one more. A quick one to end on. From Josie again, who wrote in again. Thank you. We always say one question, one letter. Okay? This is how it goes. I'm sure like 30 of these are just Dylan in the mailbag doing singular questions.
That deviant.
Exactly. So thank you for always doing a different letter with a different question. Final one from Josie. What is your guilty pleasure movie?
My guilty pleasure movie?
Yes. A movie you don't want to kind of admit that you like, but you will watch.
See, Dan, I don't discriminate.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't really have a Dan. Yeah, never mind. I won't drag you through the coals.
Oh, what? No, go ahead. Drag me. Drag me to hell like Sam Raimi.
I was gonna say sometimes your viewing habits are a beautiful disaster. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, that was. I watched Beautiful Disaster last week, folks. Didn't like it. Moving on. Yeah.
Am I a crazy guy for thinking Cats is fun? I guess that's my view. Because that's my lowest rated thing on Letterboxd.
Your pick. I think it's got to be your pick because you, me, and Erica watched that thing together, and that was horrifying. I would almost put that under the horror genre. The 2019 live action Cats
Tom
movie.
Hooper's Cats kind of rips. I'll say that for sure.
All right. Well, that's a very good guilty pleasure movie because I think you should be a little embarrassed to admit that. But
whatever.
You should still.
Oh, Doolittle also rips.
Doolittle with Aldi J.
Yes.
Okay, I will say this. Actually, a great movie that I absolutely freaking love. Beautiful Creatures. I saw that a few weeks ago.
I know you gave it like 4 stars.
It's so good. Have you seen it?
No, I want to get around to it eventually.
Dude, I swear to God, that thing was like I don't know why, because I understand the bones of that movie. I understand what's up and why it's weird for me to like that movie, but it just worked for me, and I was not expecting it. You might know Richard Lagravenese from director of Freedom Writers, P.S. I Love You. He was part of Paris Je T'aime back in 2006. And he did Beautiful Creatures in 2013, which was, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, a flop.
Yes, it was a flop.
And I will say it, I think we watched the trailer last night, and it was such a bad trailer. I could not believe how bad a trailer it was. I was like, they
Zoe
marketed
Deutsch
this
is in that,
terribly. Right? What?
Zoe Deutsch is in that?
No, you're thinking of Alice Englert.
No, Zoe Deutsch is in that movie.
Oh, Zoe Deutsch is barely in that movie.
Yeah, she's like a girl at the school.
Yeah, she's got like 2 scenes, I think.
Okay. Well, no, I want to do a curated like streaming. What's the I'm looking for?
Marathon?
No, what's it called? A curated screening thing. Yeah, there we go. Called Deutschland. Where it's Zoe Deutsch's filmography. Dan, I'm gonna take my platform really here to make a impassioned plea.
Okay.
There was gonna be a 4K release of Cats that is stalled. Let's get that back in motion. Let's get those discs pressed.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Dan, they're gonna include the butthole cut.
Are they actually?
No.
I would love that.
I wish.
I would love that. Oh my goodness.
Taylor's flashing up on the movie screens right now. Let's bring back Bumblerina.
Oh, we'll do a Cats re-release for the Era's Toll. That
is
an era.
That's her biggest era was the Cat era.
That's the silent era. That's the
Bumblerina era was the biggest era.
She's keeping from everyone. Taylor, give us the Cats era.
Oh my god, dude. Dan, I can't wait to watch that again with you.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Again and again and again, baby.
Yeah. If it's with you, buddy, I'll watch it anytime. Yeah. Thank you for listening. This has been a rambly episode of Mailbag. I think if there's anything you can expect, completely, absolutely, will be my Film and Discovery from 2023 in December, and then the Andes, which is a 2-episode nominees and winners. Maybe.
Let's hope. If the SAG strike is resolved by January,
maybe even mid-February, we could push it.
Mid-February, we will do it.
Yes. yeah, if anything you'd like to plug, Connor?
If there's a movie you like that is a streaming original that is available on physical, buy it on physical.
Get it because it could be gone at any second. At the end
there
of the
is
day.
no way to secure the thing you love will always be there.
No one's
except
safe,
for literally buying it physically.
Particularly on Max.
Max, well, not even on Max. Max kind of started, but Disney Plus has been going nuts with it recently.
Yeah.
And yeah, just support physical media. Because physical media is film preservation. And if there is a movie you love, it can literally disappear from every digital thing literally tomorrow.
Yeah.
So if you love a movie, do what you can to preserve it into your life.
All right. Sage words from my favorite film lover, Connor.
Thanks, Dan.
And from all of us here at the Film and Film Masters offices, have a lovely fall, have a lovely rest of October into Halloween, and yeah, you will be hearing from us soon.
Okay, bye guys.